check out the new D-Max, guys. I think with the arrival of this pickup, the entire range of pickups in Malaysia now all look good. Wow! This is on another level, by the way. So let's see. We're gonna go on a drive to Seremban in this thing. So I'm gonna give you my first impression of this car, of this pickup, and then maybe we're gonna run through all the stuff that's new. Because everything, literally everything is new. Whoa! As I was accelerating, you get a display projecting a red light, and then on the instrument cluster, you get this warning as well, a very huge, very apparent warning. One of the most safest pickups according to Isuzu? Oh well, I don't doubt that. Oh, the pickup feels so much more responsive, and the acceleration is so much more linear. Oh, partly because you get a new 3-litre engine now. It's pushing out 190 horsepower and 450 Newton meters. According to what I checked, that's about 23 more horsepower and 70 more Newton meters compared to the previous 3-litre model. That's quite an increment actually. Oh, it's so smooth. So the brakes were one of the issues from the previous model. I felt like it was just inadequate. This one though, they've increased the size of the rotors, the brake disc basically. While I'd say that pedal feel can be a lot better, the braking performance is just so much better now. Oh, I must say the most apparent difference so far is how the steering feels. So fluid, so much lighter as well. I feel like I'm driving a car, man. In fact, in this sense, I think Ford Ranger is probably one of the best until this came along. In terms of steering lightness, how easy it is to maneuver, I think this is right up there with the Ford Ranger at the moment. And the other thing that is quite noticeable as well is how much more refined the cabin feels right now. Noise insulation is a lot better, and the vibration has been significantly reduced, I must say. And it's mostly down to the seats. So these seats have been completely redesigned from the ground up. We're talking about new springs, new padding, dual padding, new foam. It's called anti-vibration elastic comfort foam. And what that does is reduces all the vibrations that you get from the ladder frame chassis that transfers up to the body and then into the cabin. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still feel a bit of vibrations here and there, but compared to the previous 1.9 or 3-litre models that I've driven, this is a massive upgrade. They have really raised the game with this D-Max. Wow, damn good. So as what my videographer just pointed out, before you buy a D-Max, for it to be a workhorse, for its durability, for its low maintenance, comfort is the last thing you'd expect in the D-Max. But now, dude, now it actually feels so much more like an SUV instead of a pickup. Right, so coming out of a toll, let's see, give it half throttle, just ride on the torque. Acceleration is a lot smoother, I must say, for sure. Just overtook a Hilux there. Must be wondering what this pickup is. I mean, performance aside, I think by far the biggest and most noticeable difference in this cabin is how much more refined and comfortable it feels from behind the wheel. And I'm pretty sure the same will apply when you're sitting at the back. And this is partly down to the revised suspension. And if any of you have ever sat or driven a D-Max, this one will be a completely different experience. Yeah, so aside from the suspension improvements, they've also made the wheelbase a lot longer, and the chassis in itself is a lot thicker now. So the pickup is a lot more rigid. I think something like 30% more rigid. And through these corners now, goodness, it actually handles very well, far better than the previous generation D-Max. With the previous generation D-Max, it felt like you're driving a trolley or something. It wasn't very responsive to your steering inputs. But with this actually feels like a well-sorted SUV. I'm sorry if I sound really giddy about this. I'm usually not easily excited about pickups, but this really is a big step up. I am not joking. So we're just exiting the highway now at Jelebu, and we have about another 10 kilometers of B-road driving to really try out the car and see how well it performs through the corners, under braking. Alright, so let's see what the D-Max is like through this bend. Oh, okay. So you feel the car leaning, there's no doubt there, but you feel the chassis being so rigid though. Where you place the steering is where the car is heading, and it just sits and goes. What? This is not the D-Max that I know, man. This is a completely new thing. I'm surprised they didn't just give it a completely new name. The steering, I mean, this is probably the third time I'm talking about it now, but like, it just makes for a much more relaxing drive. Effortless. I remember the last time when we drove the 1.9 litre D-Max in Krabi. We went through some really narrow, very winding B-roads. The car felt very lazy, as if it didn't want to respond to my inputs. Whereas this one is just so much more reactive now. And I think this improvement in driving dynamics has something to do with the fact that the engine is now pushed much further back, to the point that they're even calling it a midship. But instead of having the engine behind you, this one is in front of you, like a reverse midship. So what you get now is really balanced handling. The car feels much easier to control, more reactive, as I said before. Just all the nice things that you'd expect in a passenger car, but in a pickup, this is really odd. But in a good way, I guess. And by pushing the engine much further back, like nearly behind the front axle, they actually managed to free up much more crumple zones in the event of an accident. So as you can tell, we're on much narrower B roads now, and the D-Max just feels much easier to maneuver. Less challenging from before. With the previous model, on these roads, it just felt like it wanted to understeer all the time. With this though, check this out. Got a tight corner coming up, just turn. The car just listens to your instruction. Well, I'm not sure if you can see, but seeing the D-Max on this road, it really looks like it's in its natural habitat. It looks so at home. I have to say they have done an incredible job taking this D-Max to another level. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's the best pickup in Malaysia, because the pickup market is so competitive with Ford, Mitsubishi, Toyota, Nissan putting out such good products. But judging from what I've experienced in the last 1 hour, it has all the right ingredients to be just that. Alright, so just before we reach the resort, I thought let's try the sound system. Wait for the drop. Not bad. It holds the sound together quite well. Sounds very tight. Not bad. Honestly didn't think that I could feel this way in a pickup. I honestly did not expect this from Isuzu, let alone from D-Max. Honestly, I wish these roads wouldn't end. I'm really enjoying myself behind this D-Max. I mean, I think it's a good pickup and all. Much better than the model before. But personally, I don't know, I still wouldn't buy a pickup. I just think they're just too big. And I live in an urban area, driving around coffee shops and all, it's just, yeah, unbearable. Unnecessary stress if you ask me. Right, before we wrap up the driving bit of this video, I'd like to highlight two more things. The car's safety system and the switch for two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. Apparently the switch now can happen in less than 0.6 of a second. I think that's really quick. And as for the safety system, Where do I even begin? There's so many. I think we can do a separate video just for that. You get a blind spot monitor, you get rear cross traffic alert, you get adaptive cruise control, you get turn assist, you get lane keeping assistance, you get automatic emergency braking, you get pedal misoperation control, and you even get adaptive high beam. I mean, you see why I call it an SUV now more than a pickup, taking into account the cabin refinement, the suspension comfort and all that. So all those safety systems are bundled under the Advanced Driver Assistance System, and it operates via 2 stereo cameras and 8 radar sensors, 4 in the front, 4 at the back. And these sensors also work hand in hand with the lights and wiper features. So basically it makes the sensors a lot more sensitive, so the car can react more quickly by turning on its wipers immediately the moment it senses some water on your windscreen, or the moment it senses some darkness, it will switch on. The moment light comes back on, it will go off. And I'm sure you've noticed these functions happening with like other cars, newer cars, modern cars, but I'm sure you also notice the delayed effect. With this, I think it's quite quick. Alright, check out this super steep slope that we're climbing. Holy crap. How do people come here for like their Airbnbs and all in the sedan? Possibly carrying a full load. Whoa! Check that unit out! Oh, this place, man. Sembayu Villa. Proper. But this slope though, I mean, how do people come here in their family cars, probably a full load, climbing up this slope? So we've just arrived at our lunch spot in Sembayu Villa, and before we end this video and have some lunch, I'm just going to take you on a quick walk around inside and outside of the car. So as I'm sure you can tell, the new D-Max looks completely different, in fact much better looking than before. And according to the Isuzu, the D-Max has been designed for aerodynamic efficiency. The design is based on what they learned from the wind tunnel, and the design is also partly influenced by the Shinkansen bullet train in Japan. Now let's start with the front. Obviously the headlamps are a lot slimmer, a lot sleeker than before. You get bi-LED projectors over here, your fog lamps are over here, and your signal lamps are over there. Completely new grille design, but I think what's even cooler lies over there. So let's start with the Vipers. They actually come with nozzles integrated into them. So as you're wiping, it actually squirts water onto the windscreen. And this windscreen in itself is actually quite unique. It's actually integrated with infrared absorbent material to block out all the harmful UV rays, protecting all the trims on the inside. It's actually a first-in-class feature. As for the side profile here, come over, I want to show you a little something. Check out the design of these 18-inch wheels. I think they actually look quite unique. And it reminds me of all the rims that I see on rally cars where you have more covered surfaces than open surfaces, which I think is pretty good, especially when you consider that this car goes a lot of off-roading. It actually prevents gravel from getting inside. And then, ground clearance is a whopping 240 millimeters. To put things in perspective, I think the Triton is rated at about 220 millimeters. That's 2 centimeters higher. And then this sporty profile is partly due to the lower roof line. On the practicality side of things, the door opening has been increased by some 25 millimeters, so easier access. Back here, as I'm sure you can tell, the tail lights look completely different, and if you ask me, I think it adds a little modern touch to the D-Max. Now let's go over to the front. There's something new in the engine bay I'd like to show you. And it's this air filter box. It's been repositioned from the fender area to right up here. And this gives the D-Max much more wading depth at 800 millimeters. It's about 100 millimeters more compared to most pickups, which are rated at about 700 millimeters. Oh, so before we check out the interior of the D-Max, there's another cool feature I'd like to show you. These days, most cars are coming with remote start, and the D-Max is no exception. Simply press the lock button once, and then press the refresh button and hold. Remote start in a pickup. And then unlock it, and the engine will die off. And it even comes with walk away auto lock. This function can work when you're standing within 30 meters of the car. And once you walk 3 meters away from the car, it even comes with walk away auto lock. Right, I think I'm going to take off my mask first because I'm the only one sitting in the car now. Right, so inside here, first things first, you get a much smaller steering wheel. You get a new instrument cluster with a multi-information display in the center. This instrument cluster, by the way, is completely new, and the illumination and all is different from the lower range models. And I think the most interesting part of this section are the aircon controls. Gone is that round dial that looks like an old Nokia phone. Now you get a single strip with all the controls properly laid out. And knowing how Isuzu keeps their designs for a very long time, this new design I think will look timeless for a long time to come. What I really like though are these two things. And firstly, it's these satin chrome trims that you find all over the car, on the aircon vents, around the aircon controls, around the gear lever, around the door handle as well. I think it really adds a touch of luxury and modernness to the pickup. And then secondly, there are a lot more soft touch materials on the dashboard, more prominently by the door panel where you rest your arm and on the armrest. What I also appreciate is the fact that they've maintained the number of storage spaces just like the previous model. You get one here, one here, one here, and then for the cup holders, and the door panels can even fit a 1.5 litre bottle. Now, as for the back here, well, check out these goodie bags first of all. Really love going on these drives. They give you all this like really nice stuff. Check it out. That's a nice touch. The seats actually don't feel very upright, which is always a nice touch in the pickup. Hooks here, a slot for your phone, and then a USB charging port over here. Oh, also, rear shoulder room has been increased by some 20 millimeters. And from the looks of it, I suppose if you have to fit 3 slender adults back here, it won't be a problem. Right, so before we end the video, I have one last feature to show you, and it's on this front seat. Check out this lever here by the side, and check out what happens to this area here when I pull it. Manual lumbar support. That's pretty interesting. So there you have it guys, the all new Isuzu D-Max. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.